but it is just demonstrable. I can show it. It's like, oh, well, yeah, I don't give a fuck. Criticize Islam. Well, dude, every time I do, you shit your pants.
Yeah, the thing is, what's funny is that the stock response has been to label people Islamophobes, and people have forgotten what that suffix means. And to be phobic means you have some sort of bizarre, obsessive, irrational fear with something, right? So if I take, if I take a tarantula, right, and I put it on your, I put it on your shoulder, and you turn around, and you see a tarantula. Most people, right? Most people, unless they're spider enthusiasts of some kind, are going to be startled.
You'd see me turn into a bitch. Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to be startled, jump up, brush it off, get away, it'll crawl, But I mean, that doesn't mean that you're phobic. You're just not really used to a gigantic hairy spider on your shoulder, right? And really, if you think that if you see a spider and your mind, some part of the lizard brain you have says, okay, well, some instinct is telling you that it could be painful or poisonous or dangerous, or have that's not a phobia, right? If I put a spider, if we go into a room and there's a spider, in a terrarium and it can't get out, and you run screaming down the street, then yeah, maybe you do have an unusual fear, right? Now the thing is, when you have people like burning their own children alive and giving religious reasons as the justification, that it's not phobic to, first of all, talk about it at all, and second of all, it's not phobic to say, hey, it would be better if less and less of that was happening until eventually it wasn't happening at all, right? That's not phobic. The people who are Islamophobic are these frightened little mice who say, shh, don't, you might make him angry. Don't say anything. Don't even bring it up. Don't even fucking bring it up.
And this is the point in the conversation where I would just bring up some violence that other people commit. Yeah. This is the point in the conversation where I go, well, what about like doing amazing atheist? There's car crashes and shit, so why aren't we talking about that instead?
Yeah.
People crash their cars. There's a lot of skydiving accidents we could focus
on. A zillion deflections. It's like, well, what about the Napoleonic Wars? There weren't There's a lot of different gimmicks.
People forget that we're talking about the effect of. Look, anybody's criticizing that sort of shit within Islam. Really, what they're saying is ideology can create violence. Let's cut it the fuck out. That's all they're really getting at is this is violence that is completely unnecessary under separate circumstances. That's all the fuck they're trying to get across. Why can't you just agree that that's true? Why is it that you have to keep going, well, not all Muslims are like, who gives a fuck? That's not even part of the conversation.
Yeah.
Like, you're such a pussy, spineless asshole.
Exactly.
You can't even focus for 1 second on the fact that ideology can create violence. Yes.
Yeah.
If you airdrop 2 fucking people who are just completely oblivious to the world on an island, and you give one of them Christianity and you give one of them Islam, they'll both likely devolve into savage idiots. Got it? Check. But that's not the state of culture in the world we live in. It doesn't exist that way. That's why there's less violence in the name of Christianity than in the name of Islam. It's a culture thing mixed with ideology. So
there's some direct conflicts, though, when you look between like Christianity and Islam. Islam actively encourages jihad, and jihad is not always like a physical war. It can also mean like a war of ideas, a war of words.
Yeah, I have to interject. That whole thing is fucking bullshit. I mean, the word. I mean, it's just like the English word war, right? We use the English word war in a non-literal context sometimes. It's no different than that. But there's no question that if you ask someone what the word war means in its most bare bones median meaning, people have a good idea. Right. It means organized violence on a large scale, and it's the same thing with jihad and words from that. Yeah, I mean, it's true that if you search through Arabic
people's understanding of jihad is that it just means like a physical war. Well, whereas like the usage of it is different when you're talking about the ideology.
By default, it does. But it's like any other word. You can use it in a non-literal context. Yeah. Just like any other language. I mean, that's the other thing is they're always like, oh, Arabic has rules that you don't understand, and that's why you're saying it's wrong. That's all. 99 times out of 100, that's fucking just them making shit up.
Well, and then But the other thing is, doesn't the Quran specifically give license to lie in the name of?
No, you're thinking of okay. This is okay.
It's like separate writing, right? Like
there's this thing you've probably heard of called taqiyya, and it was.
Could be, yeah. I'm not sure.
It was okay. What it is that back in the day, and the Sunni Shia divide has been around from the very first generation, really. There were areas where Sunni Muslims would make up a majority and Shia were persecuted, and what happened is Shia clerics started saying, look, if your life is on the line and you have to pretend to be Sunni in order to avoid death, do it. Right? So
I've heard it described other ways, and I don't think that's what I was hearing described either.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there.
It was a different quotation from something else. It might be a different religious writing.
Which actually, that just sounds practical to me.
Right. Well,
that makes perfect sense.
There's a lot of people who will there's some kind of dumb critics of Islam who will say, "Oh, taqiyya is this thing that every single Muslim uses," and unfortunately, some people.
No, that's not what I was saying.
There's like Muslims.
That's what I've heard.
They just use it, and it means it's okay to lie. To spread the religion or to deceive, that's not true. I mean, a Muslim apologist will lie because religious apologists lie because they can't.
Yeah, well, I was talking about it was like a reading. It was like a quotation from something where like one guy's talking to another guy and they're talking about something entirely different about converting people, and they were like, "Well, it's okay if you need to lie to convert people." No, it wasn't anything about like pretending to be one or the other so you don't get killed, but that makes sense.
Yeah,
right,
you've probably heard a lot of people like who bash
Islam. I've heard taqiyya.
But the thing is, if you talk to any like Sunni Muslim in North Africa, the Middle East, who's not on the internet, they probably have barely heard the word taqiyya used in this context at all. So that's a major urban religion that needs to be laid to rest. Hopefully, no matter how passionate people are in criticizing Islam.
Well, that's interesting because I have only heard taqiyya described in the way you just sort of like shit on, like it's sort of you can be deceptive if it converts people and so on.
Yeah,
and so
you're
forth.
not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to do that at all. I mean, if you look at like
it seems counterintuitive. Like you just lie about your religion and they join and like, hey, it's something else. You still want in? No.
Yeah. That's. That's not really a thing. Like if you read the Quran and the Sunnah, they usually it's like so many other religious people. They don't give any indication that they should need to lie. They're like, why should we lie? This stuff is just so self-evidently fucking true. I mean, the moment people hear these, it's like they'll just trip over themselves when they hear our arguments. No, I mean, there's nothing like that. They so thoroughly take for granted the people who wrote these laws and determined which hadith were considered authentic, that they just take for granted that, man, when people hear these arguments, they'd be stupid not to convert.
Right. Yeah.
Sort of like Christianity.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Right. Well, it's working, so why wouldn't they think that?
Yeah, well, I had an exchange with a Muslim guy, and this was online, and he said, what was it? I said, look, I'm just not really convinced, and he said, well, check the NASA website. You'll find that just like the Quran says, Muhammad once pointed at the moon and it split in half, and modern astronauts have found evidence of this. And,
yeah, you told me about this.
Yeah, and I said,
Good
yeah,
Lord.
Here's the thing about that. No. I mean, and what's weird is, I'm not sure if you're serious, but you yourself can check the site and you'll see that what you're saying is not the case, right? There's no crack going all the way around the moon. That never happened, ever. It's not going to happen. Nobody's going to... And then, so his response to me was to say, okay, so you give up. You realize that Islam is the true religion, but your pride won't let you... And I thought, well, I don't understand how you arrived at that conclusion.
Yeah, you know what? It's my pride. Bye.
Yeah, it's my pride. You're right. Yeah,
that is my least favorite debate tactic. So you agree? Like, no, I just told you I don't agree.
I just laid out for you in detail why I do not agree with you.
So I would say, yeah, the thing about why you spread the religion is it's a myth, and I'd say that they take for granted that their arguments are great. They think that every single thing is just like rock solid fucking proof.
Yeah, could it
Really?
be that they fell for it, so they just assumed you did?
So the real issue with like modern Islam is the places that institute Sharia law. Then
The problem is that it's still a thing. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. Yeah, they still actually are like
I have
religious
such
law
outrage
as
fatigue
opposed
when it
to.
comes to anything Islam related. I mean, I still have like all these Muslims and ex-Muslims that I follow on social media, that I used to use to keep like my finger on the pulse of what was going on. One of these days I'm just gonna have a spring cleaning and just try to forget that the Middle East is even a thing, that it's even a place.
Well, it's becoming a thing in Europe right now because of the mass immigration, and they're not really
what a
checking
great
to make
idea.
sure that they're letting in refugees. They're just letting in just giant groups of like 18
Stop
to
being
20-year-old
racist.
men.
Stop
What
being
a great
racist.
fucking idea.
Rape gangs on the fucking streets. They actually
Hey,
Germany has a bunch of advertisements now that like tell girls and women to like not go near the camps and to avoid walking by like immigrants, to like not incite them to rape them.
Oh, and by the way, that's the other thing. Like, what is
ridiculous?
Like, I actually have to go here in a minute, but before I do, like, what the fuck is going on with this conversation about rape culture
Oh yeah.
in the West? When this shit is going on in Germany, you mention that, and you're an asshole just instantly.
Yeah, and it's like
when you point out an actual rape culture.
What kind of society do we live in where a person rapes somebody? Isn't that a rape culture? They're putting up signs now that weren't there before because there's an increased number of rapes in this particular part of this country.
The thing. That's the bizarre. I mean, they're like saying, "Oh, that's just propaganda. That's not really happening." Oh, but you probably shouldn't.
Right.
You probably shouldn't walk down that street anymore. Why not? Because the thing that isn't happening is,
it's not happening so much.
Yeah, it's
might.
not, you know what? It's potholes. That street, you could trip and fall. Don't walk down that street. There's nothing to see here. Yeah, it reminds me of the fucking Simpsons, where the guy works for the pharmaceutical company, and then he's like, I think after you watch this video, you'll agree that it's a good thing that we pay too much for drugs. I mean, wait, just enough. I mean, not enough. We don't pay enough for our drugs. Bye. It's like kind of fucking obvious. Fucking lying just right to your goddamn face, telling the exact opposite of what you know goddamn well is the truth. It's like, that's just propaganda. There's no excess crime from the migrants. Oh, but yeah, you might want to increase, you might want to take certain precautions that really you should have taken from the beginning. What?
Well, it's like the overwhelming complaints of citizens. Like are just they're coming from nowhere. They're coming from nothing.
Or like the video of the actual rape gangs.
Right, there's that shit. I mean all of it, but it's like, what? Like, you're obviously not fucking concerned about rape. Like, if you were, you'd be discussing rape in places where a lot of rape takes place. Like, why are these people more like? I honestly, this is one I can't figure out. The obsession with rape culture in the West. Yeah. What's the benefit for those people to be obsessed with it? Like, I can usually pinpoint the motive of political ideology. Like, I can usually go, this group over. I can't pinpoint the motive for obsessing over rape culture in the West. I really can't. I haven't thought of. I can't think of any fucking reason this is advantageous for the people obsessing over it.
If they were actively dealing with some of the stuff that actually is a problem, it would be useful because you would be addressing issues. But they're trying to address issues that don't exist, and then trying to create like propaganda to say it does, like all those fake rape cases.
Like, again, like, it's about motive for me. Like, what's in
money.
this for you? Oh,
it's money.
Okay.
The more you talk about it on YouTube, the more viewers you're going to get, and the more like people are going to donate to your Patreon, and the more you play the victim, the more people are going to donate to your Patreon, and you say the right words, you do the right dance, and people throw money at you.
You know what it is? It's this. I don't know if I said this when we started recording, or just before, but there was this person on Twitter who said, "I'm going to go watch the new Ghostbusters 3 times in a row." Just to show the haters and to sort of counterbalance them, and then someone.
I like that. I like that he's going to inconvenience himself to that degree.
Yeah, well,
it makes some sort of perceived point.
Someone made a comment back, and he said, "Okay, now I'm going to see it 4 times. You want us to keep doing this? If you keep, and
yes,
yeah, exactly."
Yes.
And I retweeted and I said,
Oh.
okay, this person is bluffing. Why would anyone do that to themselves, even for the purpose they stated? I mean, you couldn't. But that's the mentality that they have, is they'll support someone out of spite. And like what was
Yeah,
Scotty
what was
saying,
the
if you can get sort of hooked up to that system, if you can be the designated receptacle of this spite support, you can make a killing. You can make a killing saying, but I ultimately I think it just boils down to identity politics. People love to have a dragon to slay, and for a lot of radical feminists, it's men. Men are the monsters. Men are the monsters to be slain, and you have to convince yourself.
There's a lot of
the other thing.
Dragons.
I was going to say the other thing is it's an idea that keeps coming back around, and it just keeps kind of like going in and out of vogue. And it's the concept that you don't actually have to interact with somebody. You can just tell what kind of person they are by looking, and it just makes all your social interactions so much easier for you, because if you just look at somebody, you'll know whether or not they're a good or bad person.
Yeah.
And it's like that kind of thing just keeps coming. Well, that's a woman and she's black, so she must be a better person than that guy over there who's white and male.
Because she's struggled more. Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, they don't have to work on actual skills, like social skills.
Yeah, and then, of course, what happens, like, when we do this thing where we go, okay, this particular minority group needs to be propped up and given everything, while this other majority group needs to go fuck themselves. So eventually, the majority group becomes the less advantaged group. And what do we do?
Did you see that thing where, this clip of this lady trying to berate Matt Damon over his some show he has? Remember
Matt Damon. No, I didn't.
Matt Damon had a show with some other people, and it was like a reality show where you have competitive indie filmmakers, and it was like, okay, we're going to find the best indie filmmaker will get a shot at making a movie with a big budget, right? And this lady was talking to them, and she was talking to Matt, and she said, well, there was this one movie made by a man and his wife, and the man was Vietnamese. And she said, well, I just thought that because one of them was a person of color, that maybe he could get some additional consideration. And I thought, what the fuck is wrong with this lady's brain? He's Vietnamese. It's not like he's missing an arm and a leg. He's not blind or deaf, or he's not disabled. You don't call into work and say, hey, I can't come in today, I'm Vietnamese, right? It's not a fucking handicap. It's not a handicap. You don't get extra consideration by being some kind of person of color.
And my thing is, why is that not insulting as fuck to you?
Yeah.
Like when you ask, like if you're a black person and you hear someone go, well, I just thought as a black woman she could get extra like, why wouldn't you go, fuck you?
Yeah.
What do you mean you thought I should get? What are you talking about? What am I fucking? It's like you said. What am I missing an eye? What a fucking asshole thing to say, dude. But anyway, on that note, I really do have to go. It's getting late for me.
Thanks for joining us.
That's some shit, dude. No problem,
guys. We'll wrap it up. So we got a sex bot.
Yeah,
we fought like twice and have a sex bot.
Yeah. That's what happens. Yeah. Whenever I show up, just fucking tirade after tirade. Okay.
I thought it was fun.
Yeah. Oh no, don't get me wrong. It's always fun for me to yell about shit. I always feel bad though, because I'm like, should we play the game? Should somebody play this fucking game?
I actually found the guy who makes these games has his own YouTube channel, and I think we have more subscribers. So I mean, I wonder, is he just like? I wonder what he thinks if he could be bothered to even watch these series. I mean, I wonder would he be mad about, like, are we doing a disservice to the game by how much we skip and so forth?
I don't know.
Be happy more people are going and playing the game,
or just playing it. Yeah,
Hopefully that's the case. And like I said,
they're fucking fun. Yeah.
We only read about a tenth of it or less, so really this is more like a demo. It doesn't spoil the product. They can still go there and see the whole thing.
Yeah, and the other thing is, like with COC, I'm super bad at it, so you can actually go play the game and succeed.
This is how you don't play. This is how you don't play.
Right,
basketball clean.
See this idiot? He can't get beyond level fucking 10 because the cum witch keeps killing every character he creates. So yeah, don't be that guy.